All right, the Bucs. They are indeed the favorites to win their division, the NFC South, minus 200. Favorites in the NFC at plus 300, but not the favorites to win it all. They're plus 650. The Chiefs have better odds at about 5-1 as the Bucs try to repeat. Let's get a Bucs betting breakdown. We've got Ryan Wilson and Sportsline's Emory Hunt. Tom Brady is 12-1 to win NFL MVP, Ryan. Just one MVP award in the regular season over his last 11 seasons. Not an award that he wins very often. Any chance that you want to put a sprinkle on that this season?
Yeah, I think so, Chris. I mean, look, he just turned 44, so in any other situation on any other planet, you're saying, well, this is insane. You're just throwing good money after bad. But this is Tom Brady, who's coming off a pretty prolific campaign in Tampa Bay, where it took him about half the season to get acclimated to Bruce Arians' offense. And once he did, he turned on the afterburners and propelled that team to the Super Bowl. You mentioned that historically he's not one to regularly win an MVP. And I think part of that because he's been offense by committee in New England, where obviously he did a lot of the heavy lifting. But I think he was counted on more with many younger players in Tampa Bay as sort of the veteran leader, leading a franchise that hadn't gone to the Super Bowl in quite some time, and getting that group together and then leading the charge to the Super Bowl. And you see the odds here with Patrick Mahomes. He clearly seems like a front runner. Josh Allen, you wonder maybe now that he's paid, is he going to have any sort of regression? Doesn't necessarily mean so, but with Tom Brady, I think you have a chance, even more than the two guys I mentioned, but with Aaron Rodgers, that's going to be the competition for him.
You know, for me, you look at Tom Brady. You guys talked about how he doesn't win this award, and that's interesting because he's been so dynamic in the regular season. And just because we saw, Aaron Rodgers do it last year, for some reason I feel like this is a young man's award, and I wouldn't put that much stock into Tom Brady winning the MVP. He has far beyond aspirations as a quarterback than to win that individual award.
Emory, how about a season player prop for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Chris Godwin, 7.5 receiving touchdowns. He's only gone over that once, and it came in 2019.
I'm going over there because I like the 17-game season, and I do think we're seeing Godwin grow more into that favorable role in this passing game. We saw that on the back end of last year, and I think that'll carry over into 2021.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Emory. I'm going over as well. I think Chris Godwin, you mentioned, Chris, that he only hit the max for him is 7 touchdowns last season. They're playing an additional game. Again, the offense is going to be more in sync to start the season, unlike last year where it took a little while to get going. And he's playing on that franchise tag. He is incredibly important to what they do offensively. Everyone's coming back. But again, you're having an extra game, and the offense is going to be much more tuned up and ready to go as opposed to last season. As long as Godwin stays healthy, I like that over.
Ryan, all that time you spent on the draft and what Tampa could do with that #1 overall pick, the guys that they did take, who is going to make an impact this season?
Well, Joe Tryon had an impact in week 1, and that's an edge rusher out of Washington who opted out last year, and he came on like gangbusters. And that started the projection that, Chris, when you don't play and you're a young player, how's that going to translate? It translated really well in week 1. But Jalen Darden's another name to keep an eye on. He is a wide receiver, drafted later in the process in the spring, and I know that Emory likes him too out of North Texas. He's an absolute burner. He's a guy that could conceivably steal some of those targets away from the receivers we've been talking about. But I think at the end of the day, he's sort of an added bonus like Tyler Johnson was a few years ago, who can come in and contribute and get his feet wet. And then as the season goes on, and perhaps as the seasons progress next year, the year beyond, we see more from guys like Jalen Darden and Tyler Johnson.
Yeah, I saw him firsthand several times. He's something else with the ball in his hands in open field. Can make guys miss, no question. Let's move on to week 1. It is the first regular season game of the NFL season. Kickoff Thursday. 6.5-point home favorites against the Cowboys, and the over-under set at 51 to hook. Emory?
Well, you have to treat week 1 of the NFL season like the 4th preseason game now because it's going to be sloppy. First time, extended period of time that these guys are going to be out there on the field talking about the starters. So I'm going to take the Cowboys and the points here. I think we'll see a lot of points back and forth, but it'll be sloppy points. It'll go under that total number, but also it'll be a very tight game, as many games in week 1 will be this year.
I'm going to go Tampa Bay and the over, and I'm going Tampa Bay For several reasons. I'll give you 2 words, Tom Brady. I'll give you 2 more words, Mike McCarthy. I'll give you 2 more words, Dak Prescott. Like, where are all those guys going to be? Mike McCarthy is a concern for me because I know he took the year off and he embraced analytics, but we didn't see a lot of that last year. Maybe the argument is, well, Dak Prescott wasn't there. There's also concern with the Cowboys' defense. With Tampa Bay, there are very few concerns. The offense, everyone's back. The defense, everyone's back. They added the 2 players I mentioned via the draft on both sides of the ball that can contribute early on. So I think the Buccaneers set the tone right away. Tom Brady isn't one for slow starts, especially in offense he knows, and I think they're going to come out and set the tone early, and the Cowboys will provide us something to talk about as we head into week 2.
Cowboys have been terrible in prime time, 6-game losing streak straight up and against the spread. Back to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as we continue to break down the world champs. Over under Emory set at 11.5. Where are you going?
I'm going over, and the number I like is 12. They got swept by the Saints last year, and we have to be completely honest with Tampa Bay. They should have lost every game in the playoffs they played outside of the Super Bowl game. So this is a very good team, but not one that is infallible. So I do think the Saints can get a game of here, 2 of there. So I do feel as though they'll get 12, so I'm going over that number.
I came up with 12 too, Emory, and I think you're exactly right in terms of that. But I do think the difference is between the 2020 Bucs and the 21 Bucs is that it's all systems go. And typically, Bruce Arians' offense takes some time to understand if you're a new player, especially a new quarterback. Now that Tom Brady's been there and he knows everything that's going on, I think they start hot and stay hot, and I think 12 feels like the floor for me.
So both going over, barely. Both have them winning 12 games. The over-under 11.5, the total wins at 11.5. Odds to win the division, -200. They're the favorites there in the NFC South. They're the favorites in the NFC at 3-1. Not the favorites to win it all, though, +650 behind the Kansas City Chiefs. Emory, do you find value anywhere when you look at the season numbers for the Tampa Bay Bucs?
Because continuity is king, I would rather take them winning the division as opposed to the entire conference. I do feel as though, yes, continuity is where you need to be in the NFL. But yeah, these guys are also 1 year older. You think about the aging vets that they have on both sides of the ball. However, there's uncertainty in New Orleans. There's uncertainty definitely in Carolina and for sure in Atlanta. So by that mathematical equation, I'm going to take them winning the division.
I think Emory's exactly right. Yes, it's -200, but here's the thing. This Buccaneers team is so stacked on both sides of the ball. I keep repeating myself because it's true. I feel like Blaine Gabbert, who's number 2 on the depth chart, could start every single game 17 times for the Buccaneers, and they would still be favorites to win the division, and they still would win the division because they have so many complementary players around them. So I'm going with the -200 on the win of the division, even though you're betting more than you're going to get back. But I think that's the surest thing of the things we're looking at here.
Who needs the GOAT when you've got Gabbert? That's the line from Ryan Wilson today. No need for Tom Brady. Blaine Gabbert can step in and lead them to a division title. All right, guys, thanks a lot as we break down the world champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Do like them to win the division and potentially get out of the NFC. By the way, the Bucs trying to go back-to-back, and Brady was the last one to do it with the New England Patriots back in 03 and 04. It has been now over 15 years since we've seen it in the NFL.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.